Chattanooga, once a key Civil War battleground, then a booming industrial hub, and now it's a charming tourist hotspot with more selfie sticks than factory smoke. In this video, we'll dive deep into its history, evolution, and why it's now the perfect place to pretend that you're into hiking without actually doing it. But here's the thing. Is Chattanooga overrated? Or is it underrated? Let's find out. We're kicking things off by heading into downtown along the Market Street Bridge because nothing says epic city tour like a bridge over a river. Really. That being said, if you're still with me and you're not questioning your life decisions, don't forget to head on down below and find the subscribe button, hit it, and like this video. Doing that would be much appreciated by me. Thanks. Chattanooga has reinvented itself over the years as a tourist hotspot. I mean, as you can tell, the food scene here is one of a kind. You know? Like you can find food here that you can't find anywhere else.
Bruh.
Oh wait, wrong clip. Yeah, sorry about that. Here, let's try this again. Alright. The food scene in Chattanooga is one of a kind. You can literally find food here that you can't find anywhere else. Yeah, something has gone terribly wrong here to start this video. I don't know what to say. You know, I gotta be honest with you. I'm trying this new AI editing hack that's supposed to make it a lot easier to put this video together, but it's clearly not working. Let's try this one more time. Alright. Chattanooga has an incredibly rich food scene. People from all over the globe put Chattanooga on their bucket list because of the city's incredible restaurant selection. It's restaurants like these that really give Chattanooga the reputation that it has. Okay, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna move on. Alright, over the years, Chattanooga has given outsiders a reason to want to visit their city even more, but it wasn't always that way. You see, downtown Chattanooga? Yeah. It used to suck. Like, really bad. Think 1980s urban decay vibes. And what saved it? What put the dreadful, depressing era of downtown Chattanooga to bed? A $45 million fish tank. That's what. Yep, you heard that right. Tennessee's fourth largest city, where the metro area is home to over 500,000 people, was saved by a fish tank. And that's not the weirdest part, because this is also the birthplace of the tow truck. Yep, the thing that ruins your night downtown when you park in the wrong spot. Invented right here in Chattanooga back in 1916 by a mechanic named Ernest Holmes Sr.
What up, Ernest Holmes Sr.?
This city is even home to the International Towing and Recovery Museum, which, no offense to the fine people at the International Towing and Recovery Museum, but why? Why would anyone go there when they can just hit up Lookout Mountain and enjoy themselves with all that there is to do there? Chattanooga, come for the aquarium, stay because your car got towed. Apparently. I wonder if the city police here are into the same towing schemes that you'll see with Chicago and Detroit. Actually, you know what? I'm really curious now. I think I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Let's see what it says. It looks like there's a documented example of someone being charged $2,000, which is just slightly above the legal limit of $150, and it looks like this particular towing company didn't even provide receipts. So yeah, it seems like Chattanooga's playing the same towing games that you'll see in Chicago, Detroit, and pretty much every other medium to large sized city these days. So yeah, good luck out there. have fun wherever you're going. You're pretty much screwed. Well, I say, let's control what we can control and put all of this trauma from towing companies aside. In fact, let's roll things back to the very beginning, shall we? Once upon a time, the Tennessee River served as a borderline. South of the river was land that belonged to the Cherokee, while north of the river was land that belonged to the United States. In 1816, Cherokee Chief John Ross—
What up, John Ross?
no, not that John Ross, the OG John Ross—
What up, OG John Ross?
there we go. Anyway, John Ross established a ferry crossing across the almighty Tennessee River. Ross's ferry made things easier for trade and travel, and on the south side of the crossing, a little settlement started to form, fittingly called Ross's Landing. By 1827, Ross left the area to become president of the Cherokee National Council down in Georgia. Here's where things take a turn. Ross fought hard against the Indian Removal Act of 1830, but Congress basically said,
Nope. That's gotta be racist.
yeah, pretty much. Well, fast forward to May 1837, about 350 Muskogee Indians who had taken refuge in the Cherokee Nation were rounded up at gunpoint here at Ross's Landing and were forced to get onto boats that were heading west. Later that same year, 2 detachments of Cherokees left voluntarily by boat from Ross's Landing, hoping to control their own journey, but by 1838, choice was off the table. Ross's Landing became a holding camp and the launch point for the first 3 forced detachments of Cherokees along the Trail of Tears. In the first 2 groups, 1,300 plus people were crowded onto flatboats and were dragged upriver by steamboats that definitely were not designed for this kind of human cargo. The 3rd detachment, 1,072 more, crossed Ross's Swing Ferry and traveled overland to Waterloo, Alabama, where they were loaded onto boats bound for Indian Territory. By the time those first 3 groups had moved through here, 216 deaths were already recorded, and that was just the beginning of one of the darkest chapters in American history. So yeah, when you're walking around Chattanooga today, enjoying your $10 Starbucks latte or whatever the hell that costs now, just remember that this place has some heavy history baked into the soil. It doesn't end there though, as Chattanooga played a huge role in the Civil War as well. And how do I put this? Well, today we have interstates, so Chattanooga has I-75 and I-24 to connect it to the outside world, but back then in the 1860s, you had no such thing. You really only had a few options. Here in Chattanooga, you had the Tennessee River, and you had the Cracker Line.
That's gotta be racist.
I mean, I don't think that's racist. How is that racist? A cracker's a cracker, you know, like a saltine cracker?
Racist.
I'm not sure how that's racist. I mean, I know at least I'm not offended. I know everybody gets offended by everything nowadays, but I'm not offended. Hell, you can call it the Cracker Line all you want as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, the Cracker Line—
That's gotta be racist.
was a Union supply route that stemmed from Bridgeport, Alabama. So in all reality, the Cracker Line was on the right side of history. Yeah, that's right. Racist my ass. And thanks to the Cracker Line, the U.S. Army forces ended the Confederate siege of Chattanooga and then proceeded to take Missionary Ridge and Lookout Mountain, which officially kicked those rat bastards straight out of town. That being said, you know what I think? I think that downtown Chattanooga should hold the International Cracker Festival every year to celebrate that victory. I mean, it all leads towards making things more equal for everyone in this country, right? It all led towards that, so why not? Bring it on! And when the city of Chattanooga sees this video and decides to put this great celebration together, because it is a great idea, just remember that you saw it on the Chris Harden YouTube channel first. Hell, I'll even be an event speaker. Let's go! Cracker Festival 2026, baby!
Freaking idiot.
Due to Chattanooga's massive role in the Civil War, in 1890 the Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park became the first national military park in the country. That's right, before Gettysburg. Take that, Pennsylvania. But the chaos didn't end there. In March of 1867, Chattanooga was hit with what locals call the 4,000-year Tennessee River flood. They say that downtown Chattanooga was under 4 to 8 feet of water, like Hurricane Katrina level flooding. Streets underwater, homes destroyed, businesses gone, people literally rowing down Main Street, people were killed, and it completely wiped out much of the city's infrastructure, including the only bridge over the Tennessee River at the time. So for a while afterwards, Chattanooga was bridgeless, which meant that there was no connection between what was then Hill City and Chattanooga. And then finally, salvation arrived. In 1891, the city opened the Walnut Street Bridge. You know, when I was here, I kept seeing marker after marker about this bridge. Everywhere I turned, there was another sign, another plaque, another fun fact. I thought, okay, Chattanooga, I get it, you like bridges, but now? Yeah, I get it. It all makes sense. Now, we are talking about the Civil War era. Remember, this is Tennessee. This is the South, so this next part is a little dark. The Walnut Street Bridge has a complicated history. While today it's one of Chattanooga's most popular tourist assets, it was also the site of a few notable lynchings back in the day, one in 1893 and another in 1906. Now remember that 1867 flood I just talked about? Well, when Chattanooga rebuilt, the city allegedly decided to raise the street levels in downtown, in some spots by as much as 14 feet, to avoid ever getting wrecked like that again. And if that's true, it explains what locals now call Underground Chattanooga, which is a network of abandoned storefronts, tunnels, and sealed-off basements hidden beneath today's streets. Here's the thing, though. There's no official paper trail proving that this was the city's master plan, but the evidence sure looks suspicious. Downtown basements with doorways leading to nowhere, which would have been outside, and windows and basement walls. Like, why would anyone put a window underground? That's why many people believe that sometime in the late 19th century, Chattanooga raised the streets by dumping huge piles of dirt and building up from there. But to be fair, nobody knows for sure. More evidence and documentation would need to turn up before that's confirmed. What is confirmed, though, is that upstream from Chattanooga, the Chickamauga Dam was completed in 1940, which finally put an end to the extreme flooding events that shaped early Chattanooga. After the Chickamauga Dam wrapped up in 1940, Chattanooga suddenly had flood control, cheap power, and a whole lot of optimism. And what do you do when you got all of that? You build factories. That's right, Chattanooga quickly became its own industrial mecca. The city had foundries, steel mills, chemical plants.
Gross.
Basically, if it could produce smoke and melt a polar ice cap, Chattanooga built it. The city was thriving, the economy was booming, and the air quality was somewhere between don't breathe too deep and have you updated your well? If Chattanooga wasn't officially called the Pittsburgh of the Mid-South, it should have been. Same vibe, just fewer Primanti sandwiches and way more lung damage, because in the 1960s, Chattanooga proudly earned a shiny new title, America's Dirtiest City. By 1961, Chattanooga ranked third worst in the nation for particulate pollution, which is just a fancy scientific way of saying you're basically breathing dirt. And it gets worse. By 1963, the city's tuberculosis mortality rate was 3 times the national average. Imagine living here back then. Welcome to Chattanooga. Your first cough? It's on the house. Well, then came 1969, when the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare officially crowned Chattanooga the worst city in America for particulate air pollution. Like, number 1, gold medal, top of the podium. They basically said, congrats, Chattanooga, your air isn't breathable, but at least you're consistent with it. And unlike today, back then emissions from factories, railroads, and coal furnaces were completely unregulated. Plus, just like with Pittsburgh, Chattanooga's topography trapped all of that particle pollution inside a nice cozy layer of warm air that hovered over the city. You know, like a giant invisible weighted blanket of death. Scenic views? Yeah, no. Back then, the only thing that you could see in downtown was the inside of your own eyelids. But hey, you've got to give credit where credit is due. The city actually got its act together. In 1969, Chattanoogans approved a brand new air pollution control ordinance designed to aggressively crack down on basically anything that made smoke. Factories, railroads, coal furnaces. If it smoked, Chattanooga put it on life support. The ordinance set an attainment date of October 14th, 1972, and somehow, within just 3 years, every major pollution source in Hamilton County was in compliance. A miracle? Not exactly. Try a $40 million price tag instead. And that's right, Chattanooga basically bought itself a subscription to breathable air for the low price of $40 million. But it worked. For decades, the city actually managed to meet federal health standards, right up until 1997, when the government said, "Congrats, Chattanooga, your lungs work now, but guess what? Not good enough." In response, Chattanooga teamed up with environmental groups and air quality nerds to figure out how to make the air even cleaner. Translation? Hey, we finally fixed our lungs, but let's see if we can actually breathe without coughing up a lung. And somehow it worked. The city managed to reduce air pollution even further, which was great news for everyone involved, except local inhaler sales representatives. But here's the thing, once again, cleaning up the air came at a price. Sure, Chattanooga could finally breathe again, but the economy? Yeah, not so much. When the city cracked down on pollution in the 1970s, a lot of the big industries that built Chattanooga's identity, steel, foundries, chemicals, they either downsized, modernized, or packed up entirely. And for all of you smartasses out there, yeah, it wasn't just Chattanooga. By the 1990s, NAFTA and the global trade deals sent manufacturing jobs overseas. Automation took over in cities like Chattanooga, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and hundreds of others were left holding the bag. Clean air, fewer jobs. Yeah. Congratulations, you can finally breathe while standing in the unemployment line. Here you can see Chattanooga's population history over time. Disregard that random spike you see in the 1980 census. I'm pretty sure Chattanooga just annexed a bunch of surrounding communities sometime in the 70s, because this place definitely wasn't gaining people back then. If anything, people were leaving faster than your cousin after offering to help you move. Basically, downtown Chattanooga was dead in the 70s and 80s. I mean, lifeless. Picture a city where sidewalks rolled up at 5 p.m. and then took the night off too. Back then, if you wanted nightlife, your options were A, stare at an abandoned building, B, go to a parking lot and contemplate life, or C, drive to Atlanta. But then, in the early 1990s, Chattanooga finally had a light bulb moment. After decades of boarded up storefronts and tumbleweeds rolling down Main Street, the city decided that it was time for a makeover, and their big plan to save downtown? A $45 million fish tank. Okay, fine, it was much more than that, but it just sounds funny and I like saying it that way. It's not totally false though. The site they picked for the aquarium, just a lovely little collection of abandoned warehouses at the foot of Broad Street. Yeah, real scenic stuff. The nonprofit River City Company swooped in and bought the whole area for $4.5 million. Fun fact, River City, along with a plan called Vision 2000 under a separate nonprofit, was basically created to take Chattanooga's sad, abandoned riverfront and turn it into something that didn't look like a zombie movie set. So in 1992, the Tennessee Aquarium finally opened its doors, and immediately it became Chattanooga's #1 tourist attraction. People started pouring in from everywhere: Nashville, Atlanta, Knoxville, random RVs from Michigan, you name it. And suddenly, downtown was alive again. The aquarium didn't just bring fish, it brought restaurants, hotels, bars, and an entire river walk. Basically, Chattanooga went from abandoned storefronts and potholes to stroller traffic jams and selfie-stick central in under a decade. Chattanooga didn't just stop at tourism. Okay, maybe it did, because the city marketed itself as this outdoor paradise meets tech hub meets weekend getaway, because everywhere you look now there's a new Airbnb, a yoga studio, or someone aggressively live streaming their latte. Basically, Chattanooga has gone full Instagram mode, and honestly, depending on who you ask, that's either a huge win, or it's exactly what's ruining it. And of course, there's Lookout Mountain, which I haven't talked much about in this video. There's all that tourist stuff up there, like Rock City, Ruby Falls, and the Incline Railway. I actually made a video on that recently, so go check that out after this one, assuming that you're not still mad at me for something that I said earlier. But truth be told, if you're a Chattanooga native complaining about all of the transplants moving here, relax. Go look at cities like Asheville, North Carolina, Denver, Colorado, Austin, Texas. Those places are growing so fast, they're basically in a permanent episode of Extreme Makeover Urban Edition. Chattanooga? Not even close. The city's growth rate is way healthier. It's exactly where you'd want it to be for a medium-sized city. It's not exploding like Denver, and it's not shrinking like, a lot of other Tennessee towns I could name. The biggest problem with Chattanooga today continues to be the economy. According to the Chattanooga Chamber of Commerce, the top industries in the almighty Chattanooga metro area are led by manufacturing, which makes up 14% of the workforce. That's about 38,200 employees. Big names like Volkswagen and Coca-Cola Bottling Company lead the way there. Next up, government jobs at 13%, or roughly 36,500 employees. And tied right behind that is another 13%, or about 35,200 people who work in education and health services. That's followed by professional and business services, leisure and hospitality, and retail trade. Basically, the startup tech scene that you would think would be more present here is pretty low on the list. The reality is that manufacturing and other medium to low paying jobs still dominate Chattanooga's economy today, which is great if you love making Volkswagens, but not so great if you're trying to buy a new one. Wait, what's that? Are you a local that's getting ready to argue with me in the comments? Cool. But first, let's take a look at some more data before you grab your pitchfork. The annual median household income for the city of Chattanooga is $62,547, which is about $15,000 less than the national average. And don't get too excited about the metro area either. Combined, it's only about $68,677 a year. Bottom line, Chattanooga's not exactly printing millionaires here, so yeah, those are some pretty sluggish numbers. And it gets better. The poverty rate for the city sits at 18.4%. So yeah, almost 1 out of every 5 people here is living below the poverty line. But sure, let's keep building more breweries. Now here's where it gets tricky. Because people keep moving here, the median value of owner-occupied housing has crept slightly above average. Right now it's around $311,000. And honestly, that's not surprising. I mean, I've seen cities that are way more overpriced than Chattanooga, but when your housing prices keep rising faster than your incomes without a healthy chunk of high-paying jobs to balance it out, yeah, that's concerning. Like, please don't check my bank account levels of concerning. So, now that I've dragged you through half of the streets in downtown, let's head over to the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, where tuition costs more than most of these apartments, and don't worry, we'll be back downtown later, assuming we don't get towed. So now we're at the good old UTC.
What up, T.O.?
That's right. Terrell Owens, NFL Hall of Famer, UTC alum, and probably the most famous mock in history. UTC enrolls around 11,380 students, with 86% of them being full-time, so yeah, it's really not that small. Acceptance rate? 77%, which means it's not Harvard. Instead, it's basically Mountain Dew drinking Hilljack Central. Let's talk economics. UTC generates some serious local impact. Back in 2008, which was a while ago, but it's probably only grown since then, the university sparked $205 million in income and created over 5,200 jobs. That's like convincing the city to build a whole new factory, except quieter, cleaner, and full of college students working on ramen and Red Bull. In other words, UTC isn't just a campus up the road, rather, it's a downtown economic power player. If it were a business, it would be the kind that pays taxes, hires people, and generally doesn't suck. Really quick, as I drove around downtown Chattanooga, including out here towards UTC for about an hour and 45 minutes total, and after you're done watching this one, if you'd like to see more of what this area looks like, make sure to check out my second channel called Chris Harden's Video Archives, where I'll upload all of the footage that I filmed for this video, but didn't use in this video. The link for that video will also be down below once it's uploaded, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. Now with that out of the way, let's keep moving. Just like the Chattanooga Choo Choo. Yup, the good old Chattanooga Choo Choo. It's one of the city's most recognizable landmarks, and it's a big part of its identity. Yeah, I didn't grab footage of it on this trip. Long story short, the plan was to come back and cover more spots in the city, but, you know, life happened and plans were changed, so here we are. The Choo Choo started out as the terminal station, built back in 1909. Back then, this was the place to be if you wanted to get out of Chattanooga, and honestly, based on how downtown looked in the 80s, I can't blame anyone who who wanted the fastest ticket out. But tracing back, in 1941, Glenn Miller dropped the song Chattanooga Choo Choo, and it blew up. We're talking viral before TikTok existed. It was such a hit that it became the first record in history to go gold, selling over 1.2 million copies. Anyway, fast forward to the 1970s and passenger rail travel went out of style. The station shut down, trains stopped running, and Chattanooga had two options: let this massive building rot, or turn it into something new. They repurposed it into a hotel, entertainment venue, and event space. Basically, it went from moving people to moving overpriced cocktails. These days, the Chattanooga Choo Choo complex has restaurants, bars, live music, and even a few old train cars that you can actually stay in overnight, assuming you've got $300 to drop on nostalgia. Nothing screams romantic getaway quite like a bed crammed inside an old Pullman car next to a courtyard full of drunk bachelorette parties. And I've got one more Chris Harden hot fact for you on Chattanooga, as the newest nickname for the city is Gig City. That comes from it being the first city in the Western Hemisphere to offer high-speed, community-wide 1 gigabyte per second internet service to every home and every business, later upgraded to 10 gigabyte speeds. So there you go. Well, people, it is now that time. What did we learn in this video? We learned that you can't always trust AI video editing hacks, just like how you can't always trust Mountain Dew drinking Hill Jacks, but you can always trust Chris's livability score.
Education.
The public schools for Chattanooga suck. Like really bad. The better high schools in the area are all going to be out in the suburbs, unless you're going with a private school like Notre Dame High School. If you want something better, think Signal Mountain. That school is ranked as the best high school in the Chattanooga metro area, and it's ranked 15th statewide. In fact, the only decent traditional public high school worth looking at in the city of Chattanooga would be Lookout Valley Middle and High School, which even that's not great. Education gets a 4 out of 20.
Crime.
This is another major weak spot for the city, as the violent crime rate is 1,091 for every 100,000 residents, while the property crime rate is 4,857 for every 100,000 residents. Both of those rates are more than double. To put that into even more perspective, that basically means if you have your car unlocked, someone else now owns it. Hell, even if you do lock it, there's about a 50-50 chance it's gone anyway. It's like Chattanooga's running its own version of DoorDash, except of delivering food, they're delivering your catalytic converter straight to Facebook Marketplace. Crime gets a 5 out of 20.
Downtown.
Downtown Chattanooga is cool and is generally safe. I haven't even shown you the rest of Chattanooga yet. A lot of it looks pretty rough, so the crime rate, it's more so the areas outside of downtown. If you want to see those areas, like this video and comment down below. Anyway, yes, downtown is cool, I thought. Plenty of things to go do and check out anyway. Downtown is generally safe around the touristy hotspots. Just don't be like me when I film these videos and go into the projects when you have no business being there. Anyway, for a medium-sized city, downtown Chattanooga is pretty neat and full of life. I'll give it a 16 out of 20.
Economy.
It could be worse. It could also be better. It could be a lot better. I pretty much summed it up earlier in the video. If you missed it, then bad job by you. Go back and rewatch it. Economy gets a 7 out of 20.
Environment.
Okay, so if you've been watching this video, we all know that Chattanooga has come a long way in this area. The city has several super fun sites and areas of concern, one of them being the Amnical dump site, which was located just northeast of downtown. According to the EPA, all hazardous waste has been removed from this site. From 1970 to 1973, the site was used for construction debris disposal, which contaminated the groundwater and soil. There's also the Southside Chattanooga lead site and several others. This map highlights areas that have either at one point experienced industrial contamination or are still currently experiencing industrial contamination. Plus, Chattanooga is an old city, so there's a chance that some older structures still use lead pipes. The city has also had an issue with PFAS chemicals showing up in the drinking water supply. It seems to me like there's a lot of things to feel iffy about. Environment gets a 7 out of 20.
Recreation.
Okay, so give credit where credit is due. There are plenty of things to do around here, no question. Plenty of mountain trails to hike in the near vicinity of metropolitan Chattanooga, even within it. There's even river rafting, canoeing, and kayaking to be had in all sorts of directions. Chattanooga recently became the first national park city, which I made a video on that a while back and nobody watched it. Anyway, recreation is a strong suit for Chattanooga. It gets a 16 out of 20.
History.
I spent a long time talking about that in this video, and for it being a smaller, medium-sized city, there's a rich history here, no doubt. It gets an 18 out of 20.
Amenities.
I don't know. I didn't see any amenities, did you? Relax, natives, I'm kidding, but not about this next part. You can find at least one store of anything that you could possibly want in the Chattanooga area, unless you can't. If not, you'll have to drive down to Atlanta or just order everything online like everyone else does anyway nowadays. Really, the shopping areas here are hard to get to, people drive slower than molasses, and really, for a medium-sized city, I would say that the amenities that are offered here are on the lower end. Most of the unique and special amenities here in town are geared towards tourists and wouldn't satisfy many of the people who live here, although there is a decent amount of things to do in downtown to spend a night out on the town. Amenities could be better. It gets a 12 out of 20.
Cost of living.
Given that the median value of owner-occupied housing is above the national average, but the median household income for the metro area is about $10,000 below average, that's not good. There is plenty of affordable housing in the city, just not anywhere that you would want to live. You know it's bad when the realtor shows up wearing Kevlar. No state income tax in Tennessee though, so that's always a plus. Cost of living gets a 16 out of 20. All in all, the Chris Livability score for Chattanooga, Tennessee is 101 out of 180, putting it towards the middle out of all of the cities that I've done this for so far. Alright, here's my message to wrap this up. Earlier this year I uploaded 2 other videos from this area. One on Lookout Mountain and another on Chattanooga being a national park city, and, nobody cared. So if you actually enjoyed this one, do me a solid and check out those other videos. They are linked right here. Even if you're about to leave, go to the store, walk the dog, or grab a $10 Starbucks latte, or if you're on your way out of the house or whatever, just click on one of these videos on your smart TV, computer, or whatever you're watching on and just let it run while you're gone. Seriously, that helps me out more than you think. Hope to see you over there. Peace.